Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, over the last couple of days, there's been a couple of examples of people being debanked because they don't share the views that the banks want them to have. Nigel Farage, of course, famously lost his bank account and couldn't apply for 9 different banks because they all refused him. Now, he's an extreme case and some people find him divisive, but the principle stands. He's being dehumanized and, losing his identity, losing the ability to function because he's not got a bank account. But why should the banks have this right? Yesterday, I did a video about Metro Bank, who refused to open an account for a group of people who have views on transgenderism that they, the bank, don't like. They are a group of concerned parents who want to protect children. And it seems that the Metro Bank are not interested in protecting children, merely in abnegating all responsibility for their political causes to the trans lobby, and in particular Stonewall. And today we have an even worse example of a woman being cancelled by her bank despite being with them for 32 years, being a professor, and her actual job is dealing with very sensitive issues. But meanwhile, the bank were approached by the likes of Stonewall or some other mad organisation who persuaded them to debank her, dehumanize her, and take away her ability to live her life. Why on earth are the banks being allowed to do this, especially given recent cases such as Forstaters, where she won £100,000 simply for holding philosophical beliefs that her employers didn't like? Well, the banks aren't in the business of controlling our thoughts, and they should not be allowed to do this. But we'll take a look at this article to show how this woman is actually suffering greatly at the hands of the thought police. Here you go. So Scott's gender equality campaigner has bank account closed by RBS after 32 years. So the banks are closing people down and debanking them because the banks don't like the way these people operate. They don't like the way they think. They've got the wrong view. How dare they? Professor Leslie Sawyers and her husband Alan McKechnie have been told she has a mark against her name. What mark? Who put it there? Apparently as a result of her work on gender and LGBT issues. First of all, if her name's on a record and there's any kind of record kept, she's got a right to see that. And the bank cannot stop it because she is protected in law. So she needs to ask them what the mark is, what is said, what is actually on her record, as is her legal right to know. But I bet you the bank won't tell her. But there she is. She works on gender and LGBT issues as a professor. And the bank have said, oh, no, we're panicking because some loudmouth purple-haired people have said that she's a bad woman. And so therefore we're listening to them. The crisis coursing through the banking sector has taken another twist after an equality campaigner and her husband were told about their account was being closed. Professor Leslie Sawyers, 64, the Equalities and Human Rights Commissioner for Scotland, has been a loyal customer for 32 years. This is a professional woman who deals with this every day. And they've just cancelled the Human Rights Commissioner of Scotland because she doesn't have the right thoughts. These banks need to be controlled. There needs to be action immediately. Notification arrived by letter 2 weeks ago from RBS, a subsidiary of the NatWest Group. It said it would be ceasing its banking relationship with the couple and that they would have to make other arrangements outside of the NatWest Group. The extraordinary decision, without explanation, came out of the blue and in the wake of a scandal that has sparked claims of big-name institutions were indiscriminately closing accounts in the names of customers with whom their values do not align, i.e. people who do not bow down and kowtow and praise at the altar of Stonewall and sister organisations like it. Those organisations filled with hate and division because you've got to accept their mental illnesses. This is wrong. The government of both Great Britain, the UK government, and in this case the Scottish government, have got to step in and force banks, not only when they do this, to give full explanation as to why, but to make sure that they are covered legally, and so that any court case that comes, the banks can prove that they haven't discriminated on the grounds of philosophical belief. Because that is the only way that this should be allowed. Now, of course, philosophical belief, as I've mentioned in the header, Maya Forstater won her case on that. So anyone who thinks that their bank is discriminating at them, they've got the case. They can go, there is a precedent, and you can sue your bank. Banks must be fined millions upon millions of pounds every time they try this trick. They just close down someone because of political expediency, because they don't like how someone's thinking. That is absolutely discrimination, and that is finable. And the Human Rights, not the Human Rights, and the Equality Act has unlimited fines. Banks have got big pockets. Let's start fining them tens of millions of pounds for every single case. Guarantee they'll stop doing it, and they'll tell the Purple Head Brigade to go fuck themselves. Anyway, the furore, believed to be nationwide and widespread, came to a head after former Brexit Party leader Nigel Farage said he'd been told by Coots that they no longer wanted him as a customer. Professor Sawyers has been in her job, which deals in part with women's rights and LGBT issues, since 2016, and during that time has not been involved in any controversies. However, her role appears to have caught the eye of the trans lobby. Mr McKechnie, 69, a private pilot from South Ayrshire, told The Times, "The type of issues that my wife is having to oversee and deal with at the moment are quite contentious. I made a throwaway comment to my wife last week and said, I hope it's not your job that's given me all this grief. She was a bit disparaging and said, don't be stupid. But then I saw the stories about other accounts being closed down and said, good God, there may be something in this after all, with you being the Equalities Commissioner for Scotland. I rang up and put in a complaint, and I did say to them, you do realise you're closing the account of the Equalities and Human Rights Commissioner. Since the couple were put on notice, they've held talks with a rival bank, only to be told Professor Sawyer had a mark against her name, despite their account having a healthy balance of several £1,000s. They were given no further details, although in law they must be. Every record held every record held on a database anywhere, you have the right to see it. All data held. So she can demand that and see what the mark against her name is. They were given no further details. Mr McKechnie added, it is extraordinary. It's a terrible way to treat someone and a very serious thing. Debanking someone removes them, dehumanises them. It's exactly the sort of thing the nasties did in the Second World War to the Jews. They dehumanising them. And doing this dehumanises. It's fascistic. The banks are fascists. That we already knew that the trans lobby are fascists, but now so, it seems, are the banks. They're kowtowing to these purple-haired loons. RBS told the couple it was not able to discuss this situation with you or provide any further information in relation to our decision-making. Lies. That's cowardice. They are entitled, in fact, they are obliged to give the information. So that is bullshit. High Street giant NatWest is still 38% owned by the British taxpayer after it was bailed out. Tell you what, the British government needs to go on there and say, right, done, we want our money right now. If you're going to behave like this, pay up, ping, ping, give us the money right now. And if you haven't got it, we will put you into bankruptcy and end the bank. They've got the power. They own over a third of it. Reclaim leader and former actor Lawrence Fox has since withdrawn all his money, save a nominal £100 from NatWest. His party has also been refused an account. The growing scandal has sparked an outpouring of anger after Mr Farage, 59, compared Britain to communist China. You've got to have right think. If you don't think the way the banks tell you to think, you are dehumanised. Might as well be put in the camps. That's the direction of travel in this country with these fucking banks. They've already got the right to push you out of your house, take your home, and then rent it out to someone else, and you've got no recourse. And the Tory party put that in. They're supposed to lead the party of, going ahead and home ownership. The Tory party said to the banks that if they have a mortgage, they can put you out and they can own the home immediately. How fucking wrong is this? What is going on in this country? Are we literally handing the country over to the banks and thus to the elite? We will all be vassals, owning nothing, doing nothing, lucky to be allowed to live, but only if we agree with the thought process of Chairman fucking Mao. This is ridiculous, isn't it? He said, some of these ridiculous rules and closures have been extended to my family. I'm enraged. This is Farage talking. He said, I also have a feeling of guilt that members of my family are being punished for my campaign to leave the EU. The banking industry in the UK has become politicised. We're going down a road where nobody in Britain could say, where anybody in Britain could say something on Facebook or Twitter that a bank doesn't like and lose their accounts. And he's right. Now listen, some 10,000 people have joined the Facebook group NatWest closed down my account to share similar stories. The banking group is now allowing staff to go to work identify as men and women on different days of the week as part of diversity measures. These are mentally ill people. They shouldn't be allowed to have jobs, and certainly not jobs where they're dealing with private secret information. They should all be fired and put into fucking mental homes. And so should the bosses for allowing it. It said, like all UK regulated banking institutions, NatWest is subject to legal and regulatory requirements, and we treat compliance with them as a matter of priority. Okay, fine. Why are you doing groupthink? Why are you controlling what private individuals are allowed to think and say? Why are you policing their politics? It's got nothing to do with you. If someone says something and you don't like it, you should not be allowed to debank them. It is scum like you that's causing the problem. This needs to go. The government need to make a law. They need to push it through very, very quickly, banning this kind of behaviour and fining banks. Every account a bank close simply because of thought policing, £10 million fine, payable immediately or they lose their licence to bank. Every single time. 10 million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million. And when they're losing £1 billion a year because the Purple Air Brigade are going on their case and giving it that, they'll soon stop listening and they'll go and correct it and become fucking banks again. Pricks. All of them. So angry. And I'm coming up. Of course, doing what I do here and expressing the opinions I have, I'm very likely to fall foul of this. And I'm with Lloyds, and let me tell you, if Lloyds try it, I just go. I'm actually going to go out now and open up a few other accounts, Starling, Mondo, things like that. And just a few spare accounts, and just move the money. Keep bouncing the money around so that it just keeps them ticking over. Because I have a feeling a big bank like Lloyds, if it caught me doing this, would go, right, you're an undesirable. Bang, close. Fuck you. They're all bastards, and they should never be allowed to own the houses they repossess. No way. That's giving them judge, jury and executioner. Oh, here, stick the bank interest rates up. Oh, can't meet the mortgage. Bang, we'll have your house. Oh, let's rent it out to that couple over there. We can make £1,000 a month out of that. That's what's being happened. That is absolutely what's happening. The elite are handing over everything we have. This rise in interest rates, for a start, is literally a way of taking money out of the poor people, working class, building their own house, trying to live, and handing it to the banks. Because the banks haven't got enough fucking money. Fuck them all. I'm really angry. I'm going to stop now. Deep breath. Thank you very much for listening. If you've got to the end, I do apologise for my rant, but you know what it is. I get so angry. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I tell you what, screw the banks. Open up several bank accounts. Go out to the little independents. Open up several, because you don't know which one of them is going to close you down soon. And goodbye.